ref. Actually got the ball. Yes, Tottenham fans, welcome back to the Irish Hotspur with your boys Dave, Steve, Dermot, and we've also brought Martin Knightsbridge back as well. Absolutely love chatting to this lad about football. Got a lot of good things to say, so make sure you have a listen into what he has to say today. But look, we're back for another match day, the big match day at N17, and they're coming in thick and fast. We've got another one Tuesday night against Newcastle before another one next weekend. So we are now in the thick of things, and we really need to start showing signs of improvement and start winning games of football. Let's welcome a few people into the chat, those that are early in with us. I have no doubt a lot of people are probably out starting to do their Christmas shopping, wives dragging them around and stuff like that. So we'll see who's left and at home. And we'll crack on with it. We've got Logan says, evening fellas, big up to you as always, hoping for a positive result tonight. Come on, you Spurs. I think we all are. Stevie's also in here saying hello to all the people in the chat. We've got Slim Boy Tub says, big up one and all. Come on, you Spurs. We've also got Bing Guy says, howdy. Let's go Fulham. Spursy out. I thought you were a Spursy fan. I thought you were a Spurs fan, Bing Guy. I don't know. I know you're very angry with Levy and that. Anyway, Sully 1882, evening, gents. We need this result tonight. Carry forward the positives from Wednesday and cut out errors. No more backward steps. Come on, you Spurs. Couldn't agree more, Sully. And we also have J-Bear in the house, J-Bear 67. Good morning, lads. Let's hope for an aggressive performance and 3 points. Good morning. Whereabouts are you in the world then, J-Bear? You must be over near Australia or somewhere like that, I'm reckoning. We've got Spurs. Spurs Insight TV. Love the wall, Martin. I have the same colour on my office. Very nice. It is a nice colour. What is it? It's obviously a navy blue, right? It's not black.
Yeah, it's the Tottenham blue, Sam. It's the Tottenham blue.
I do like that crest right above your head as well. It's lovely.
No, that's the back.
Huh? If you just put handles on it, you can pretend you're lifting your Europa League trophy now.
Yeah.
Then we've also got AK Shakes, Coys. Good to see you and Limpy down under. The difference between top and bottom half, as if we need more motivation to win. Well, that's it. I think before any of the games today, we were coming in 2 points off 5th, but also 2 points off 13th. So, shows the importance there. Benny Geis, a Spurs fan, 100%. Dave Big Up was expressing my frustration. I know you are. Good to see you in the building. And we've also got Anna Cole in the house. Come on, you Spurs. Anna from the Welsh Valleys. Hopefully you and the husband actually get to watch the game today. That'd be brilliant. But, I mean, look, Sully brought it up, guys, and we'll go around the house on this one. I mean, we come into this game off the back of a 5-3 defeat to PSG, but there were plenty of positives to take or signs of positivity. I mean, what major positives do you actually take away from the game, and what aspects need to carry directly into this Fulham match today? Was it the pressing, the intensity, movement, aggression, the sort of freedom to attack, that front foot mentality? We'll start with you, Stevie.
I think two things. Number one, it was the engine in the midfield. And it's something that we hadn't seen over the course of the last 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, let's be real. We haven't really seen it much this year, and it looked like it was something different. And I also thought in that buildup, I think our offense, our attacking players actually fed off that. The other thing was the fact that we had more than one person in the box, which was something that I think early on it kind of surprised certain players, because we actually had more than one person to pick out. And as the game progressed, you're starting to see 3 to 5 different attackers in the box, which actually made PSG, actually play defense. And it was. You ended up opening up attacking lanes for Richarlison, especially on that header, and then of course Randall Colomwani on both of his goals as well too. And so from that standpoint, that should be the learning lesson taking away from that PSG game, because when the handbrake is pulled off and you actually let our attackers do their jobs, you come to find out that they actually will be able to come good. And so from that standpoint, I think, Thomas Frank should actually be able to take something from that and realize that he actually does have class in the attacking side. And, if he releases the handbrake and actually lets them just play free and wide, they're going to be able to come good.
That was my biggest takeaway from Wednesday night. It sort of showed me that I don't align with, we don't have the quality in the front line to pose more of a danger than what we do. It was clear that, that the handbrakes were taken off, the fullbacks were allowed to get forward, the centre midfielders were allowed to get forward, and by putting more bodies forward, we could create more chances. We end up scoring 3 goals, and I would like to see more of that today. Like, I can understand, with some of the games we've had, Thomas Frank going a little bit more pragmatic, but in games like today, you got to take the handbrake off and allow these players to get forward. Dermo, what were your positives, takeaways that you want to see continue forward from the PSG game?
Look, for me, it was the hunger, it was the fight, it was the desire, something we didn't see against Arsenal, and I was so delighted to see that. I think it was the more attacking nature of our game. I want to see that brought forward today. Keep the Morani and the Richarlison link up front. Have playing two up there. It's attacking. It's what we're about. And it just basically the fight, Dave. The pride to wear the shirt. Go out there, real at home. Use that energy. Use that energy that's going to be provided before the game. Use it in a positive way. And if we can start the game positive and start it in the right way, I think you can grow in that. We saw that on Wednesday, didn't we? I know we lost, but it's a game where you look back, there was more positives than negatives. And we need to carry all them positives into the game today. I know we've only won, sorry, pardon me. I know we've only won 4 home games in this year, 2025. Well, if we can get a win today, that takes us up to 4th place. I'll just check the table. That should be momentum in itself. If we don't win today, we could end up being outside the top 10 if results go against us the weekend. So momentum, desire, fight. Bring all that in today, and I think the rest takes care of itself.
And it'd be interesting to see what sort of lineup Thomas Frank goes with, because he did say in his pre-match press conference about Archer Graham-Berg, well, that if they perform like that, in the Champions League, there's no reason why they can't, why they can't do it in the Premier League to a certain degree. It may look like he was going to select them, but then after the Arsenal game, he sort of said, "Look, that wasn't the game plan" and stuff like that. And I just wonder, does that maybe allude to that some players maybe aren't doing what he's asking them to do? And does he maybe need to have a Pochettino moment at Spurs, which I do have a question about later on. We're going to get on to. I do have a question about, 2 up top today or whatever. So I know there's a lot of people in the chat giving their opinions. Keep flooding them in. And we'll, no doubt we'll address a lot of these talking points throughout the show. Martin, great to have you back me out, man. Look. What's your thoughts after the PSG game, and what would you like to see? What would you like to see us take from that game moving forward?
Well, putting the score aside, I think 5-3 was respectable for us. Because I thought it was going to be a tonking after what we've seen with Arsenal. So you have to find a positive in that we scored away 3 goals at PSG, at arguably the best in the world. Yeah, they stepped up. Yeah, they turn it on once they don't like it. They've just got the quality and the bench they bring on. We're just not in the same league. So for us to go there and score 3, I think was quite good. But that aside, I just think the approach, the mindset, it's all about that. And if it ain't that, because what Frank says ain't what we're seeing. I want to attack. We're going there to win. We're going to do this. And when we see 7 defenders, I'm sorry, you can't say we're going to approach it attackingly and put 5 at the back and 2 in front of it. And then to have that many holes in that 7 is just ridiculous. So either the players ain't doing what he's telling, or he's telling us lies. Now, but then if he's telling us lies by saying we're going to do this, you can't be attacking with 5 at the back. 3-5-2 is a different thing. 5-3-2 is something completely different. That says same players, different positions, but we're going to be defensive rather than attacking. So you can't tell us we're going there to win when you're starting at the back with 5. But and so at times it was 7. So for me, the players have got to take some responsibility at some time. If it ain't working, you can't just keep getting tonked. At some point, the team have got to get together and go, look, lads, let's just shut up shop, forget what he says. This is our pride on the line. And they didn't show it in the North London derby. And that's the one that hurt the most. We losing 5-3 at PSG didn't hurt no one. The game before hurt. So today has to be a massive response. Park the PSG one, but take the positives from it, as in the approach. The players, the system and all that, he's going to tinker and do. But the mindset of the players has to be, we want to go and win this. If we're going there to just defend and hold out, it's just the wrong approach. You're never going to win. You're never. So I hope he's learnt his lesson and seen with different players and a different approach that we can compete. And that's all we want to see. We don't expect him to rip up trees in his first season, but let's see.
Well, yeah, I agree. I don't think anyone's expecting him to rip up trees, but we do want to see our team have a go. And I think Spurs fans have been like that my whole life. Like you look at the difference between the Arsenal and the PSG game. PSG game, we had a game plan on how we were going to turn over the ball. We had a game plan on what areas we were going to exploit going forward. Against Arsenal, we just went in and sat back and looking to contain them all game long, and it was never going to work. Like, I'm okay. Like, I don't really care. Back 5, back 4, back 3. I don't care. Just what you can't do is what you've done against Arsenal, where you don't put any pressure on the ball. You're just
Give up before you start, isn't it?
Exactly. You're going into war waving the white flag, and I credit Wayne Bonner for that saying, but it's absolutely spot on. You know, and that's the big difference for me. Like you say, game plan, I think, is absolutely massive, you know, heading into today's game for sure. Because on another, like, I know we look positive against PSG, but to a certain degree, off the back of a humiliating North London derby against one of the best teams in the world, it's very easy for Frank to take the handbrake off. It's very easy for these players because they've got nothing to lose to go for it. But when the pressure's back on them today, and on the players and Thomas Frank, let's see what they step up with. Let's take a couple more comments here from the chat and then we'll crack on. We've got Dennis in the house says, need to stop those shots from the box, and midfield needs to get them blocks in. And that's the thing. I think look, I've done a lot of digging into it because the 2 against PSG really hurt me. And I remember we conceded 1 against them earlier on, 2 against Villa, a couple against Arsenal. I've actually gone and calculated how much we've conceded, and it is a reoccurring pattern. Then I went to see if it was a reoccurring pattern at Brentford. It was, and it's something that we will talk about, you know, in a little while here. Dennis, big yourself up. We've got Sully says, Moani and Richie playing so close together. It was good to see. Look much more potent. I think, look, Moani is one that can definitely play up front on his own, Sully, but I'd argue with Richie, he looks better when he's got someone around him, because even if he does have a loose control, someone's around to pick it up, which then makes it look like a delicate layoff. Rather
it helps. It's a bit of security, isn't it? It's just someone a bit like a defender needs someone with him. Just that bit of security. Go, look, I've got someone there. When you're on your own, it's just hard work, unnecessarily hard work.
Absolutely, and I think that's the thing with Richarlison. He's a guy that does need players around him because he's so unpredictable in terms of whether he's on his game or not. And that's where I think, you know, we haven't really helped Richarlison at times this year. We don't get enough people up closer to him for them second balls and stuff like that to be able to pick them up and keep moving forward. We've got Stevie Fraser says, big up, people. Good to see you, Stevie. Hopefully you're keeping well. We also have Ian Harding. Coys says, guess the lineup, lottery time. Be interesting. I just don't want to see a heap of changes today. Lazier says, good to see you, Nick. By the way, Nick will be joining me for the watch along today, which I'm super excited about. Hopefully I'll save a bit of my voice box. We've got Wayne Bonner. Sup, everyone. Hope you're all well and enjoying the weekend. I'm sticking with a 2-0 Spurs win tonight. Come on, you Spurs. Spurs Insight TV. Would be nice to see the 2 up top at home. Well, we've got a dismal array record. That's something that does need to change today. Ghosted says, big up. Good to see you, Ghosted. Hopefully you're keeping well. Spurs 4-3-3. If we lose today, Brentford will be above us, which tells you all you need to know about Thomas Frank. And look, that's something I put out a tweet about a week ago, sort of saying, when you look at Brentford continuing on what they're doing, despite losing their key signings, despite losing their manager, backroom staff, and they're still continuing on in that same vein, you know, it's more of an indictment around Brentford rather than the managers that they bring in. And I'd argue it's a very similar situation to Brighton. Look how much they kick on once they lost Potter, and many people thought they wouldn't. We've got Harmless Potato says, good evening, big up all. Dave, Steve, Martin, and Dermot, good to see you. Sully also says, I don't want any more false dawns. We need to see progression now. Absolutely. Michael Warrington says, it was nice to see Tottenham again. Hopefully it'd be nice to see them again tonight. Slim Boy Tub says, thought the youngsters were pretty decent against PSG until they began to tire. That's one thing I think you could maybe aim at Thomas Frank for the PSG game. I think the game plan and everything else was absolutely spot on, but we knew we had to continue to do that because once we dropped off them like we done in the Super Cup, we knew the danger they possessed. He should have known he had to make substitutions earlier in that half than what he did, in my opinion. We are Spurs TV. Great to see you. Pure Coys as well. Good to see you, Nigel. Hopefully you're keeping well, my man. And we also have J-Mac in the house. Great to see you. But look, speaking of game plan today, you know, Thomas Frank promised Spurs fans in the pre-match press conference that we will come flying out, be positive, intense, energetic, and forward-thinking. I mean, panel, do we believe Thomas Frank that that's going to be the game plan today? And also, you know, do we believe that the squad can also deliver the game plan today? How are we feeling about that? Because this is something that Thomas Frank is not used to, by the way. He made his name in the Premier League being able to stifle the opposition. So do we think we are going to see that sort of front foot team that he says we're expecting to see today? Anyone come in on that?
I don't think so. Yeah.
Go on, Dermot.
Go on, Martin. You go first, bud. Go on.
Yeah, I just like me and Dave were talking the other day, and it's like the thing with Frank is I looked at all what he's done and the way he speaks and everything, and you've got to like him. He speaks well, he understands it, and all this. But I don't know. It's the Ange factor that just made me sort of want it too much without looking like what Dave was looking at. And Dave was that bit of hesitancy and cautiousness about it. And, you know, the reality now, coming straight in with a bigger expectation, the fans are bigger and a bigger expectation from the fans. We've just come off the back of winning a European trophy. And then now he's playing every 3 days, every 4 days. He's got no time on the pitch. They're travelling back. And, you know, I don't want to say he's well out of his depth, but he's well out of his comfort zone. As you know, he gets them in, as he says, I have my 24-hour thing. Win or lose, he gets over it on the Sunday. Monday morning, back to work. We've got 5 days to work on it, and we're playing Saturday. Now he's playing on Sunday. He's having a warm down, thinking about it. Then they're 1 day's training, and they're on a plane somewhere. Then they come back. You know, it's all new for him. He's learning on the job. So I think he has reverted to being over defensive to try and stop, you know, us losing, to try and, you know, work his way forward while he's working it out and figuring it out. Because even his coaches that he's brought in, they're not used to it either. It's all new for them. And, you know, Angie's first season, he never had Europe or anything. And he said, I'd much rather have 2 games in week than time on the training ground, this, that, and the other. And then when he had that, it was just, he was out of his depth.
Yeah.
So it's hard. You know what I mean? As fans, we don't care. You're getting paid £3-4 million a year. You know, the players are on that sort of money. Get it done. We don't care. But if you look into it and you take time to step back from it and see what they're up against, he is well out of his comfort zone and he is struggling with it. So I think that's where the handbrakes come on, because he's more worried about losing than he is trying to go forward. But in doing that, you're taking away everything that is good about us.
Fair point.
Do you know what I mean? And it showed the other night. Put the fringe players on that ain't started and have been injured and they've just knocked around. They've come in and they've shown that it can be done against the best in Europe. So I think whether it was his Pochettino moment where it's like, right, no, the defensive ain't working. We've got holes everywhere. Let's try and play front foot forward. So if he said that in his press conference and he starts like that and we come out electric, I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm. And I think, look, he'll buy a lot of goodwill off fans today if he comes out and approaches it that way, even if he doesn't pick up a result, you know, a result today. If he approaches the right way and we're trying to go and win games of football, I think many fans will sort of, you know, give him a not a free pass, but I think that they'll start to try and see what he's trying to do, what they can't get behind. He's already going into games with fear, playing scared, stuff like that. And to your point, I think you made a great point there. He's taken away everything that's been good about us, and stuff like that. I think you're absolutely spot on. Stevie, anything you want to add to that?
It's an odd question, right? Because listening to Martin and listening to you, Dave, yesterday, and of course Derma, I guess the question that really comes to mind with this is whether or not Thomas Frank is capable of learning his lessons from match to match to match, and whether or not there's certain philosophies that kind of supersede that learning curve, right? And I think Martin, what's interesting that you said that, because Dave and I were talking about this exact same thing yesterday, and whether or not he's playing to avoid getting the sack, which is the exact same thing as playing not to lose, right? Because you understand that there's absolutely no pressure at Brentford, whereas at Tottenham, and understanding the scope of modern day football, where results absolutely matter. And for whatever reason, by the time November rolls around, and if you haven't kicked on yet, there's going to be even more mass pressure. And as a coach of a team of this type of stature, your first inclination is to double down on everything that you absolutely know, which is to be an even more defensive team. And because of it, you've seen over the last 3 matches, we've leaked 11 goals in 3 matches, right? So in the act of doing it, it's actually hurt us more than it's actually absolutely helped. And the one thing that I want to see is that learning curve from what we just saw, where if you have nothing to lose, then you have everything to gain. What did he say in the preseason, right? If you're not taking risks, that's also a risk, right? So from that standpoint, it's like, okay, cool. Now I actually want to see that at this point, right? Where it's like, you look at Fulham and you look exactly what they're going to do today. They're the type of team that's going to be a counterattacking team. They're going to give us the ball and dare us to break them down. And if we're, if we're lining up, in me personally, I think we should carry this formation from PSG to Fulham. It's going to give us the absolute best opportunity to actually take advantage of some of their weaknesses. And when you were talking about this yesterday, Dave, with PSG, there's areas on the pitch where we can exploit. They're without Anthony Robinson on the left-hand side, which means we're going to be able to dominate that right side from that standpoint. So there's going to be very different opportunities for us to actually play balls in and actually be direct with the right lineup, with the right lineup configuration. So from that standpoint, this is not an opportunity to show Fulham too much respect.
Exactly, and that's one thing he's done time and time again. Nearly every press conference this season, I've walked away shaking my head with the amount of glaze that he gives the opposition. Some of the stuff he was saying about Bodo Glimt and stuff, I couldn't believe it. And then I'm seeing the performances, the tactics set up accordingly to how he's thinking. And I think that's where I worry. Like, for me, I will meet him halfway. I'm okay with playing counter-attacking football, but then execute it the way, for instance, Nuno was at Forest. You know what I mean? Have a game plan to get up the field, where you're going to attack, areas to exploit. Like against PSG, I said it before the game. Hakimi's out injured. They're playing a centre midfielder at right back. It's an area we can go after. We went after that. We got a goal off the back of it, between Archie Gray and Bergvall down that side, for instance, even if you don't want to go man for man press, even though most teams are employing that across European football now, then have a trigger press. Wait for the guy you think is the weakest on the ball, send everybody up, and then send people after the ball. But what we can't do is what we've done against Arsenal, Chelsea, where it's just sit in, no game plan out of possession to go after them, no areas looking to exploit. And then you can see that reflected on the pitch. Also, no game plan to try and turn the ball over. And you can see that reflected on the pitch. Like I said, I'm okay if he wants to play counter-attacking football, but then have a game plan on how we're actually going to break out. Because when you look at Nuno at Tottenham, it's very similar. And he had Harry Kane and Son. He sat so deep, we could never get up and lay a glove on the opposition. And recently, we've done a lot of that under Thomas Frank. And hopefully the guy is learning that there is a bit of pressure on him to start producing, a bit better football. Because we're not good enough, and we never have been, just to sit back and see a game out or try and scrap. We never have been. Even with our worst squads, we've always carried a bit of an attacking intent or threat, gone after them and caused them problems that way. And I think Thomas Frank needs to learn that, especially, being Tottenham manager. I'm not asking him to abandon all his principles, but you've got to have a game plan on how you're going to hurt the opposition, especially at a Big Six club. At Brentford, it's okay if you want to sit in for 90 minutes and try and, get a result out of it. But that's not going to wash at Tottenham, not with the amount of money we're laying out on transfer fees, and some of the talents that we're bringing in here. It is nowhere near good enough. But Dermo, I mean, how important is an early goal today at home to shift the energy inside that stadium? Because let's be brutally honest about it, home form hasn't been good. The atmosphere, everyone's walking away from that stadium complaining, after every home game about the atmosphere and stuff like that. So how important is it actually that the team muster that energy from the fans today?
It's so important we get an early start. Look, Fulham haven't won an away at all this season. So, everyone's expecting to score a hatful of goals. We get an early start, then I think that's great. You can build momentum off that. You can be positive in your attacks with that. And the fans then can get involved. But I think the problem is, Dave, the only problem is only won 4 games at all in this calendar year. And I think that's the problem. We have sort of a psychological block when it comes to playing at home. We don't like playing there. You've seen our football at home and our football away. We've got one of the best away records in the league. Comes from our home form, we're absolutely dreadful. So I think Thomas Frank has to break that circle too. And look, it's about winning tonight. You're building off the momentum from Wednesday. Win tonight, and then you take that momentum again into Newcastle. And it's about once we score, don't defend it. Keep attacking. Keep going at it. Go and get a second. Go and get a third. Go and get a fourth. Keep going at it. We've seen games where we've taken the lead and we've sat on it. We've sat in the defense, and that 1-0 is good enough. We're not like that. We
conceded within 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Like we can't hold a lead.
Yeah, and I forgot what I was going to say now. It's gone at me.
Keep on attacking, Dermot.
No, it's okay. It's gone, Dave. You can take over. It's gone now, bud. It's gone
No,
completely
but
out my head.
in what you were saying, I do think, you know, it's. I think from the off, we need to show that attacking intent. You know, I go back to the Bodo game at home last year where everyone was nervous around the semi-final. We took the game straight to them, and I think it just calmed everyone down a little bit. And I think even if we don't score early, but we're taking the game to Fulham, I think that will get the fans excited. I think that will get the fans behind them. I think the fans will then find their voice. But if we approach it the way we've approached most first halves, you know, at home, which, by the way, we've come out with lower percentage stats and stuff like that, the Spurs fans are already going to start booing at halftime and stuff like that. And it's just going to lead to more toxicity. That's going to lead to more negative performances and reactions on the pitch. And then it's just going to all end up in disaster. It is crucial that we approach the game the right way. But then also, if the fans see that they reciprocate that and go, okay, they're trying, and then get behind it. Because I truly believe once we get that win at home, I think we'll start backing it up. It's just about breaking that duct. And at the end of the day, we have to start picking up points at home if we want any European qualification out of the league campaign. Home is your bread and butter.
That, Dave.
Yeah, work away.
I don't think he realises how important having the home fans on side and seeing the atmosphere lift and everyone being in it together, how much it will give him confidence, the players, and bring everyone along. At the minute, he's in the canal and he's trying to go up water a little bit, but it can easily turn around. And you know, I just think he's getting the results away, but he's not reaping the benefits by doing it at home and having that stadium buzzing and everyone walking out there joyous and everyone's dancing at the end of the game. And I don't think because he hasn't seen it or felt it yet, I don't think he realises how important that could be for him and the team moving forward.
Absolutely spot on. Look, at the end of the day, you know, despite all the noise that goes around on social media, it's when it starts creeping into the stadium is when these managers are doomed. It happened with Jose, it happened with Conte, it happened with Nuno, it happened with Postecoglou. Once it starts filtering in and around the stadium and starts affecting the atmosphere in and around there, that's when the manager then starts to become on borrowed time. So I think you're absolutely spot on. He really does need to get them home fans behind him. But and like, this is why I'm so hesitant to sit here and go, Frank isn't the guy or Frank out. Yes, I have my doubts. I'm still going to give the time guy to prove me wrong. It's because earlier on in the season, we went for teams. We were aggressive. We went after the ball. We pressed it. We scored goals off the back of it. So he's shown he can employ that. So just bring that back. That's all we're asking. If we don't win games playing that way, but we're giving it a good go, fair enough. But what fans won't tolerate is what we've seen, because we've no game plan out of possession. We are just sitting back waiting for the opposition to beat us, and it can't continue like that. So I just urge Frank to find his balls again in that regard. And I struggle to understand why he switched it up.
From a home crowd, is it? There's no advantage to him. He's playing on a neutral ground or an away game. He's getting no advantage to playing at home.
Well, I think this season, like when you look at the home and away form, the way we play will work away from home because the opposition is on the home team to come at you, come out, which leaves space. And that's where we can get at them. And that's why our away record is so good. But at home, when you need to go at the opposition, the onus is on us to go and break them down. That's where we're letting ourselves down. And that's where we've let ourselves down for weeks now. And this is something that does need to be rectified, because if you rectify that, Spurs fans will be pacified. The guy will
get easier.
Exactly. He'll get more transfer windows. He'll get better players in, and he will kick on in that regard. Let's take a couple of chats here.
Can I just very quickly, Dave? Sorry, just a stat. There was a stat that was out today, and I brought it up in my show earlier. Tottenham are 1 point off points tally than we were this time last year under Ange. 18 points. I think we're down 1. So I don't think we've improved much under Frank from Ange. I don't think we have, but I'm disgruntled with Frank because of the way he's playing football at the moment. We all want this attacking football. We all want this modern day Tottenham way, push and run type of football where, yes, you've got to have your solid back four, but we do attack with intent as well. And I do feel like he said at the Chelsea game, we're going to go out and attack. We're going to do this and we're going to do that. We've had the worst game I've ever seen Tottenham play in years. We said the same thing about Arsenal. We went out and played absolutely dog shit. So he's got to get it right himself. He's got to go around and say to the players, right, this is what I want you to do. Yes, defend, but keep moving forward. Push and run, pass and move, pass and move, pass and move. Get into positions. Look at PSG the other night. PSG were pulling players out of position, and then they were going into the space that was left there. You saw for the first goal, 3 times out of 4, that number 17 was on his own in the middle of the just outside the box, ready to take a pop. Twice that happened before. None of the players took need of that. None of the players thought, oh, hang on a minute, they might do this again. Why don't I sit a little bit deeper, just outside the area, just in case, and it seems to be telling the players to, you're doing your jobs, but you can't think on the job. You can't sort of, take it upon themselves to sort of add to the tactics. And I think that's the problem. He's telling them something to do. The players are saying, okay, we're going to do that. But he's not giving the players the ability to think for themselves when they're on the pitch. Sorry, Dave, I didn't mean
No, look, I get what you're saying. Look, first of all, you know me, I've been consistent on this. I'm not going to compare Ange and Frank. I think Tottenham fans need to stop doing this. I think we should only be judging Frank on what we're seeing in front of our own eyes and what we're hearing coming out of his mouth. Forget the comparisons. It's very hard to compare to Ange Postecoglou. He threw away his Premier League campaign for the sake of Europe, So it's sort of like, I'm not getting into that. I think we need to stop that in general. I get it. Some fans really love Dan. Some fans really love Frank. I fully get it. But it's now time for that to stop and for us to actually judge Frank on his own merits and what he's doing at this football club. But look, when it comes to the shots outside the box, like I said, it is something that we are going to discuss, because when I look at the pattern of it, it's something that happened at Brentford as well. The difference is, though, Flecken made a lot more saves from distance than what Vicario was making. So we're going to have a conversation around that. But also in terms of, and this is where I think maybe Frank is letting himself down slightly, is because I think everyone was looking forward to having a bit of structure again. But it's too structured. It's too rigid. And that's where Frank needs to sort of grease the wheels a little bit and just I'm not saying let everybody flood forward, but release one of them pivots, release, a full back forward. Let's get bodies up and help these forward players, And I just think that's where Frank let himself down. Spurs, Super Spurs TV, good to see you, my man. I know you had a good international break as long as I did. We were texting each other through Sean's group chat, about the Ireland game, which was great. He says, big up, David. Panel need a big performance today. I'm going 3-1. Be positive. Come on, you Spurs. Big up, Blaine. He's gone 3-1 today. Look, that's the thing. I think, looking at the PSG game, that's why I don't buy it's all down to the quality of players across the front line. Once we flood bodies forward, we have the capability of scoring goals. Now, of course, the question still remains. You'd like better quality to be more consistent across the whole season, of course. But there's no reason why we can't go at Fulham and grab a couple of goals here today. Now, what I will say about Fulham is, don't be fooled by where they are in the league. They do create a lot of goal-scoring opportunities. There's just a lot of question around, do they take some of them? And hopefully that will work out in our favour today. So it's not going to be easy. The Fulham team we've played under Marco Silva the last few years have come and roughed us up. And we haven't really had the answer. But one thing I am glad of, that Pauline is with us today and not against us, because that guy used to drive me absolutely insane playing against us. And look, hopefully Moani can step up again today. That's another big question, right, Blaine? Was it because the guy was motivated to prove prove PSG that they were wrong about letting this guy go and move on and stuff like that? Or is it what he needed just to sort of kick on and spark into life? It'd be very interesting. But look, 3-1. I'd be running down to the bookies and throwing a sneaky fiver on that one. It's not a bad choice there. Blaine, although I will say you are choosing to completely ignore our home record, but I like that. Sometimes delusion can be good. We've also got King Huddle. Steve, I have also pointed the theory that Frank was fearful of getting the boot early a la Nuno and was playing safe, particularly because of the sheer amount of league games lost last season.
But also look at the discrepancy from when the calendar turned from mid-September into October, and the European play and the domestic cup competitions came thick and fast, and all of a sudden now you're going from one match a week to three to 3 a week, and then all of a sudden there is that hesitation of continuing with what made us successful through that first little month and a half of the season to where we are now. I think it's only 5 points since within the league, so maybe there's something to that as well too.
Yeah. Absolutely. We've also got Spurs Insight TV. What's our best midfield going forward? For me, Bentancur is a sub at best. Probably a little harsh, but he just slows it down and provides very little, if any, progression. I know Jack is at home, nearly getting sick reading this or listening to this message. He loves Bentancur. Look, I don't think Bentancur is as bad as he makes out, as people make him out to be. I think he's a fantastic squad option. Would I rather a better player in with more of a passing range, from that deep line position? Yeah, of course I would. But right now we don't have that option. I just think Bentancur gives you a bit of security. But, a lot of people have made the point they don't want to see that double pivot, and you could take one of them out. And I think Frank would probably do that today, to be honest with you. Shem Thompson says, hey, Dave, an amazing panel. Hope you're all well. Big up, Shem. Good to see you. Good to see Kate Rickman in the house as well. Need to start on the front foot tonight. Absolutely spot on. Derek Hutchinson, good evening, everyone. Tonight is a must-win, no excuses game like it and all. He will let loose. Well, he gave us positive vibes in the pre-match press conference that we were going on the front foot, so let's wait and see. Cyprus Spurs, good to see you. Hopefully you're keeping well. Wants a strong performance tonight. Kieran, hello, Dave and Jack and everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. Come on, you Spurs. Good to see you. And we've also got Breezy Gas in the house. Come on, you Spurs. Need a win today. And then we've also got Peter Elsie in the house. Just be positive and support the side. Way too much criticism. Maybe go support Barca, Real, or Bayern as they win 90% of the time. Look, I think the problem is, it sort of reflects the world we live in. Some people just want to live in sheer delusion, want to just live in sheer positivity, and stuff like that. But there's actually a reality that we live in. And the reality is what we've been seeing in recent weeks hasn't been good enough. And at the end of the day, what these YouTube channels are here for, whether you like it or not, is to discuss what goes on, good or bad. And that's what we do here. If that's not for you or you don't like that, fine. I'm sorry about that. That's on you. Fair enough. But what I'm not going to do is just sit here and pretend that everything's absolutely positive. I've never done that, and I never will do that. I'll talk about the good, and I'll talk about the bad. At the end of the day, what we're seeing with Frank, there has been some good, and I get you're a big Thomas Frank lover, and I get that. There has been some good green shoots, some positives. But the reality is that has slidden off the last while, and we need to get it back on track. And, if things are sliding off, you hardly expect people to just sit here and talk about all the positives. And at the end of the day, you're the same person that will also come in here and berate players then about not being good enough for Thomas Frank. So if you want to be positive, continue that on and say Richie is brilliant. Tell is brilliant. All them players are brilliant, but don't be contradictory and come in here then and start slagging off players. If you want to be positive, be consistent and carry that the whole way through. At the end of the day, like I said, these channels are here to talk about what's going on. What we talk about is a reflection on what we're seeing. If you want us to start making it up, that's on you. Go and create your own channel to do that.
Yeah, and I get it.
If I'm correct, that Peter guy, every fucking single channel I'm on, that guy goes in the comments and puts in about 15 comments underneath, slating me every fucking time. And I'm fed up.
I get it. I get it. There are certain fans that want this club to get back to, the exalted status of, under the days of Arthur Rowe or Bill Nick or Keith Birkinshaw or Harry Redknapp, and getting back to the level of of where they view this club as being a top club. But we haven't been that for goddamn 25 years. We have not been consistently year in and year out that type of club. And whether that was Daniel Levy and his way of doing business, or whatever the case may be, that we have been lapped by other teams, and now all of a sudden those clubs are some of the bigger clubs in the world. And I understand the frustration. But that being said, there's going to be fans that, like you and me, Dave, or Derma, Martin, that understand exactly where this club is. And there are some good spots, but for the most part, there has literally just been a lot of stress surrounding this club year in and year out, because we're not where we're supposed to be as a club. We're chopping and screwing managers every 2 years. We're starting projects again and again and again. And when this happens, unfortunately, we get lapped by other clubs. And it just is exactly where it is. I try to stay positive as much as I possibly can. But that being said, it's hard for me to ignore the obvious with this club.
100%. Look, anytime we play well, we score goals, I'm out here singing. I'm making an ass of myself. I just enjoy myself. You know what I mean? Like that, there is positivity there. Sometimes when people don't like players, I'll always sit here and say what I think is good about them and stuff. Sometimes I'll have a contrary opinion in that. But the reality is, even when I talk about the issues, it's because I want them improved, because I want Tottenham to start showing consistency and getting back to where we were under Pochettino. It's not because I want to rip the club apart and for it to internally be like this. I just want things improved so that we can kick on and start winning games. That's what we all want at the end of the day. But look, Peter, you're definitely not going to like the next question, is what I will say to you, Peter. So maybe put your fingers in your ears on this one.
Sorry?
Sorry?
If people just listen to what we're actually saying, We're saying what's bad, and we're trying to say what we want to go forward and how it can change and bring everyone together. We're not just sitting here slagging them off for the sake of slagging them off because we all want to be negative and we want the club to do shit. People just don't listen sometimes. I think they have their agenda, their focus, and whatever you say, if it doesn't align with them 100%, you're negative, you're this. It's just too easily bandied around that everyone's negative. We've all sat here and said, this is what you need to do. Take the handbrake off, move forward. We're all trying to be positive. We just live in a real world, not in a false universe.
What's sad about it is, like, you know, Peter used to come in and listen all the time. You know, I used to try and bring up his comments and stuff. We just have a difference of opinion on when it comes to Thomas Frank. He didn't like some of the stuff that I brought up around the hire, but these are all stuff where we're at a point today that he has to improve to kick on. And I get it, but at the end of the day, why do people have to fall out over difference of opinion and stuff like that? Can't we all just listen to each other? Anyway, a big up, DB. Good to see you as well. Hopefully you're keeping well. Me and a couple of journal colleagues have set up a channel, not going live until next season when we move back from Dubai. Had an issue with membership. It's constant. Spurs Insight TV. Big up, DB. Well, look, best of luck with it, my man. If you ever... I'm not sure what I can do for you, but I suppose I can help you out if you have any questions, if I know the answers, or I can make an appearance or whatever. If you ever need, just let me know, DB. Good to see you. And look, fair play to you. I encourage a lot more of that. But guys, I mean, look, Tottenham's recent league form has seen us drop to 9th in the Premier League, but with only 2 points separating us from 5th place Crystal Palace and the same gap down to 13th place Brentford. This weekend's result could significantly impact our position. How important is it for us to get back to winning ways to stay in the hunt for European spots, just in terms of the mindset in general around the football club?
It's very important. It's extremely important because how tight the league is at the moment. I mean, I can't remember a Premier League season like this where it's been so tight. Like you get a win and you go up 3 or 4 places, or if you get a loss, you're down 3 or 4 places. One thing for us, I think we've got the 4th highest. We've got the best 4th highest goal difference in the league, I think, out of the top sort of 10 in the league. And it's important. That breeds confidence. Confidence breeds winning. Winning breeds confidence. Confidence then goes through the squad. Hang on, we can do this. We can go out and get a result here. And look, we've done it before. Look, we dominated Man United over the last couple of seasons. Okay, the 2-2 draw was frustrating, but do you know, we have beaten big teams over the last couple of seasons. Liverpool, Manchester United. And you know, and we've competed. We won a European trophy. Sure, I was only in my short pants the first time we won it in '84. So was Martin. You know, we were both little kids. Pardon?
I was out in big little boy pants.
Yeah. I mean, we can look, it's just go back to what was said. I've seen so many Tottenham sides do badly, but we've always supported them. And we need to get behind these lads. These lads need our support. They need our love. And if we get a win tonight, let's bottle that. Let's bottle that and move on with it. We've got Newcastle away. We'll always get good away support. Let's go up there with the confidence of getting a result against Newcastle. And then we've got Brentford next Saturday.
Now you're getting too carried away, Thermal. Newcastle.
Well, no.
On Tuesday.
No, but the point is, I've always said, if we can get 7 points out of these next 3 games, I'd be over the moon with that.
It'd be a good take.
All I want is Thomas Frank to prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. I would give you all of my support if you can prove to me you're the man to take us forward. If you're the manager to give us the success that we crave. We won a European trophy. Let's build on that. Let's continue with that. And who knows, we might win an FA Cup this year. We don't know. The FA Cup is a one-off game. You don't know what draws you're going to get. So why can't we not go and win it? So I want Thomas Frank to prove to me tonight, going forward, this is my stall. This is how I'm going to set out. The players go on the pitch. Okay, we're going to follow the manager. We're going to do this and get a good win tonight. Good feel factor. It goes through the club. It goes to the fans. And then you bring it on to Newcastle. Get a result there. You go to Brentford next week. We're all confident. Come on, let's get a win. Get a result there. 7 points, that would keep you in the top 4, top 5. None of us here are saying we're Champions League material. But if we're there or thereabouts within the mix by January, add to the team in January with some good players, and we're there or thereabouts by the end of the season, why not? To dare is to do, isn't it? Isn't that our motto? I think the players have to Live by that. Yeah, a good result tonight, and we bring that momentum on. And that's all we want. We want momentum. We're like kids. We just want the feel-good factor. That's all we want. We want to be happy, and as long as we can see that, we'll get behind anything. So it's important tonight that we start as we mean to go on. That's my opinion, but I'm delusional anyway. But who cares?
let me just question you as well there, just quickly, Dermot. But before I do, look, to answer, the question myself, I think it's absolutely huge, today that we pick up that 3 points. I think pick up the 3 points, all of a sudden you're pushed back up the table. You've got some of your most difficult fixtures out of the way this season. All of a sudden, things look positive. A lot of the noise quietens down. All of a sudden, the talk comes out for patience, and people be more receptive to it because of where we are, in the Premier League. However, if we end up losing and falling down into the bottom half of the table, then that shows that there has been a significant decline over the recent weeks. And where does it stop? How does it stop? Who do you put to blame for it? And all of a sudden, them questions start coming out. So I think a result today would really we all need it. We just need a bit of quiet around the club. Because to be fair to Frank, I actually do think he's got the right temperament. In the press conferences and stuff, he doesn't bring heat to the football club. No one really scrutinizes what he says and stuff like that. Only really us Spurs fans, but pundits, media, stuff like that, they don't really pay too much attention to it. And I think that's good, because we do need a while where we can just sort of go about our business sort of uninterrupted or unnoticed to a certain degree, so that we can start improving things. And I think that temperament is good, but things have to pick up and we have to get a result today. But Dermot, I mean, look, 4 months in, I would argue, I think that's enough time to sort of judge what we're seeing in front of our eyes in terms of, are we seeing progression or are we seeing regression? So where are you at with that, Dermot?
I'm very clear. At the moment, I'm very disgruntled, very not happy Spurs fan with Thomas Frank at the moment. I don't think he's doing enough. Yes, he needs time, but somebody said it to me the other day, and I sort of agree. It's like watching Nuno Type 2 with Thomas Frank a little bit. And I just want him to prove me wrong. I want him to show me, this is what I'm about. This is how I'm going to get out of these difficult positions. These times make or break managers. And a win tonight, the noise sort of goes down. I get a result against Newcastle, it goes even further down. Get a win next Saturday, I think the noise stops. If we lose tonight and lose against Newcastle on Tuesday, there's going to be so much noise around the club. It's going to be unbearable. And then he's going to be on almighty pressure coming up against his old club. So for me to become a Thomas Frank in again, or Thomas Frank get behind him, I want to see him rectify his mistakes. Start the games a bit more positively. Start with an attacking adventurers at home. I don't mind being a bit defensive away from home. That's fair. At home, start with one DM. Go with an 8 and a 10.
Or
Dave's been an
attack with 4 midfielders like we did against PSG.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Show me something. Show me something I can get my hat that I can hang on to. I know you don't like comparing managers, Dave, but with Ange, we knew what we're getting, and I stuck with him to the very end. I know I wobbled a few times, but I did stick by him in January to the end. But I want Thomas Frank to build on that, and I don't think he's brought the club forward. I don't think he's regressed either. I think I think we're stuck in the middle, and if he can prove to me that he's the man to figure out these questions and give me the answers I want to hear, then he's got my full support. But I'm not going to sit here, Dave, and be, Frank him because you were Angel or whatever. Yeah. I want the best man to do the job for my club. Yeah. We've had many managers that were good and not good. Give the man time. I agree.
I think he's normally uber positive, isn't he? He's like, now to see him a bit dejected, it is a bit sad.
It is a little bit. I mean, I like watching these press conferences. I'm like you, Dave. I do enjoy watching them, and I think But that when you got Vega, when he was asked a question about Vega coming out and Vega criticizing him, and his sort of reaction to it was, "Oh, hello, this is a little bit different here." Like,
He's never
I
been
don't care.
scrutinised to this intensity at Brentford. Never.
No.
Not by the media, by the pundits, by fans. You know what I mean? Because it's a big six club. We're playing in Europe. When
Yeah.
we play, it's prime time. Everyone either tunes in to watch us win or everyone else tunes in to watch us lose and has a laugh at us. We are prime time. He's never had this much scrutiny on him. Just quickly, Paddy. What I will say, Paddy, is I get viewed as negative, which I don't agree with personally. I think people never really give me credit for some of the praise I give players, for instance, like Papa Matasar, Colin Mawani, Romero, Van de Ven, players like that. But look, in terms of Dermot, I'm not even frank out yet. So Dermot's actually more negative than me. I think he's trying to rub off on me, which I'm a bit concerned about. But Stevie, and then we go down to Martin. I mean, where are you at with Thomas Frank? Are we seeing progression, regression? Because I'd make the argument. That's why I think today is absolutely crucial in terms of, I think, the opinion around them based off of after today's game. Because if we're down in the bottom half of the league, all of a sudden you're going to see a lot more people turning, a lot more pressure on Frank. But if we win, all that goes. So I'd argue, I think today is sort of, I think it makes a break, Frank.
I would agree as well. I would agree, and this is where I disagree with Dermot. I actually think I have seen regression. Considering the first month and a half of the season, we were actually seeing attacking football, and then when the calendar switches and now the opposition gets gets better, we've seen this over the course of the last 4 or 5 weeks against Chelsea. We're dropping back deeper and deeper and deeper. We're not getting forward. Against Arsenal, we essentially concede position just to stay and play deep, and of course the mistakes against PSG. The reality is, it almost feels like as the pressure was mounting, he's asking his defense to be even more perfect. Essentially playing for a 0-0 draw, or playing for a 1-1 draw, or playing trying to be perfect for 60 minutes, putting too much pressure on his defense, to be able to hang into that 60, 70th minutes, and maybe they might pop out on the counter, score a goal, and then all of a sudden you get a result when otherwise maybe you wouldn't, right? And me personally, I think that's a progression considering how we started the season. When we started the season, we were actually front-footed and attacking and actually going after teams. And then for whatever reason, we started doing it when the games became thick and fast. And for me, there's a notable regression. Certainly, we have beaten teams that we were better than against West Ham, Everton, Leeds United. Sure, we got those 9 points. But against the teams that actually really matter, against the teams that are going to make or break whether or not we're going to finish within the top 6. He has literally regressed against those teams, and especially considering we already saw a couple of those teams in the preseason, and understanding exactly how they were going to play against us. They didn't change against us, but we went ultra conservative to a point where we couldn't even get out of our own end. And if that doesn't show regression, then I have no idea what regression actually is, right? But that being said, it's an opportunity to get off the right foot at home. I think we only have one win at home the entire season. And it's been the complete opposite. Whenever we go on the road, we have no problem playing loose, free, and releasing the handbrake. But for whatever reason, we go home and all of a sudden we're ultra conservative. We're putting too much pressure on our defense, and if one little mistake happens, we get punished. And then all of a sudden, now we're playing from 2 goals down, and by the 60th minute, we're completely out of the match. And so, from this standpoint, again, it gets back to the fact that if there's any lessons to be learned about PSG, is you can't show so much goddamn respect to the likes of you showed against Bournemouth at home, against Aston Villa at home, to the point where you're going to go out there and you're literally just going to let it loose and just try to punch them in the mouth in the first 10 minutes and actually, get that crowd behind you. Because again, what does Thomas Frank ultimately want, right? He wants the lane to be a fortress. Well, okay, cool. Stop playing not to lose and actually start playing to win. And then all of a sudden, you probably will see some problems disappear. But that being said, there has been a complete regression from how we started the season to where we are now. I
think all the stats reflect that as well, and the fact that we've dropped from Champions League spots all the way down reflects that as well.
Yeah, 100%.
But King Hoddle, let's answer King Hoddle here, and then we'll let Martin Knightsbridge come in, because I know Martin will have a lot to say in and around Thomas Frank here. He says, well, what is progression, Stevie? We were minutes of going out versus Coventry on their previous incumbent, but we didn't. We ended up winning. We didn't go out. We are out of the Carabao Cup now. And we're almost knocked out by a non-league team, which is fair. That was embarrassing. And lost 26 games last season. I see nothing but progression.
Really? Because, here's the thing, though, right? again, when we started the season and we went on the road, we go two down to Brighton. We fight our way back into it. Bodo Glimt, we fought our way back in to get a result. Where have we seen that aggression in match against a little bit better oppositions? It really does feel that we have regressed from that fight in which we seen in mid game. Granted, some people will think that PSG match was actually improvement. Me personally, I didn't see that at all. But that being said, it's like against teams that we absolutely have to show up against: Chelsea, Arsenal, Newcastle in the League Cup, Manchester United. Again, what's so funny about this is there's long stretches of times where we show absolutely zero heart and the ability to actually get forward or actually put in an attacking sequence where you actually believe that come the end of it, there's actually going to be reward for that. More oftentimes than not, we concede possession and just hope for the best. That to me is regression. We're not consistent from game to game to game. We're not even consistent in game.
I mean, we're 8th in the league or 9th in the league, so I suppose league-wise we're doing better than we did last season. But this is the thing. Football, everyone sees it differently. We all see football through our own eyes differently. I don't see it the same as Dave or Steve or Martin. The four of us here would have if we watched the match together now, 4 of us would have 4 different opinions on the game that we're watching. And I think it's about not just about the games. I think it's the overhaul with the club, with the signings, with how we played in pre-season, how we started the season. Yes, we haven't got a great home record, but Ange didn't have a great home record last season. Frank's leads 1-1. I know we haven't had a win sit, but the season's really young, so that can be turned around. So it's a case of we all see it differently, and some fans think we have progressed, some fans think we haven't, and some fans think we haven't. We've regressed. So it's everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and everyone's right to their own opinion. Nobody's wrong, everyone's right. But for me, I haven't seen any progression or regression. It's just the same mode for me. And I think some of the games, it's like watching Ange. You think Ange is in the dugout again. That's for me personally. And there's some games you think, fuck me, we're doing brilliantly. And other games, we're not. So it's not, we haven't regressed, we haven't regressed. We've just went, And I think tonight's the night where we're either going to get really regress or we're going to make a massive push forward, I think.
I have no problem with Thomas Frank. As a matter of fact, I'm willing to give Frank, multiple years in order to get this right. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to give a guy like Frank a job like this, he's going to need time to actually put a squad together that actually suits him. But what I really want to see is a consistent attack from match to match to match. So we know exactly what our identity is from every single match, and so at least we know that. And from that, you're going to actually get consistent performances. And that's the only thing that I want to see with this club, because we're not getting that from a match-to-match basis.
Yeah, fair. And look, I think the inconsistency isn't helping Frank to a certain degree. Before we get Martin in here, Patrick Thomas says, we win today, we go 5th. Chat is full of gooners. I don't think it's full of gooners, Patrick, but I think, this is the thing. We lose, we don't win today. We lose today, we go further down the table. And then it's, I think no one can deny, since not the international break just gone, but the one before that, things have completely fallen off. And that's where the frustration comes in. And, back when other people tried to highlight, where things weren't sustainable, like myself, Eugene, Jerome, everyone was saying, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about, we're 4th. No one's saying that anymore. And it just goes to show that we are sliding down. But this is the thing. One win today, it settles everything down. One loss today, it ramps everything up. That's just where we're at right now. And that's why I think it is make or break for Frank. But Martin, look, we'll get your thoughts on, where you're at with Thomas Frank currently. But also, I want to know off you, is the fan base more frustrated by the results or the lack of a clear playing style when it comes to Thomas Frank? I think that's an important one to try and get to the bottom of.
For me personally, it's a bit of both. I don't want to speak for a lot of fans, but you can see it. A lot of people are very reactionary very quickly. And I just feel these days, not just on YouTube and in the Tottenham community, I think in society in general. Now, we all live in different parts of the world, but we all see the same thing through different lenses, but no one, you've either got to be ultra positive, ultra negative. I feel I live in the real world, and it's so hard to get on one side or the other because I don't understand the full meltdown, and I don't understand the full woohoo, everything's great. But on the Frank side of it, we've had a couple of chances this season when we're sitting in fourth and fifth, and we win today, we go second. Didn't happen. I was still knocking around there, had another chance. Didn't happen. And it's like, well, it's a bit early in the season to judge. We're now knocking on the door of Christmas, right? And this is the crunch time, the busy time, where it all ramps up, the checkbook gets open because we all start talking about who we're going to buy, who we want, all this, that, and the other. So I think he's had a little bedding in period, and we're starting to see things for what they are. At first, we were like, oh yeah, he's looking at the other side. Now I think he feels the same. I think he feels a bit exposed. I don't know whether there's pressure from the new hierarchy, or he says he doesn't do social media and that, but you can't miss the noise. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Even if his kids are watching it, his wife's watching it, someone's telling him, Dad, look, this is what they're saying. He might not be sitting there on TikTok all night himself, do you know what I mean? But he's seeing
someone
it.
In the club will be relating it to him as well.
Of course. But I think now he's getting to grips with, like, this is, reality. And this is, as I say, he had that luxury before of 5-6 days training, a day getting over it. That luxury is not afforded to him here. Then you add on all the pressure and all that. And we understand the injuries, but every team has injuries. Arsenal have had injuries. They're still up there. It's a lot of what the club have done for them and brought behind. So when there is an injury, the drop-off ain't so vast, but then we'll say that it's vast, and then the kids come out the other day and put in a good performance. Can they do that every week? No, I don't think so. So this, I think, this is the point now. He's lost to Chelsea. He's lost to Arsenal. We've slipped down to 9th. Now, this could be jump back up, bit more confidence, or jump back down, pressure ramps up. And as I say, this next 7 days, I'm not putting it all on today, but this next 7 days, I think is vital, not for his job, but for him and the team as a whole, where they're going to go and how our season's going to pan out. That, say we could be going into Christmas in the bottom half of the table. Then all of a sudden you just want to buy players, and we all talk about these Locatellis and all this, that, and the other. They're going to look and go, "You're having a laugh, yeah?" So, for us to have any chance or any confidence of going toe to toe, let's get Semenyo. Liverpool in dire straits, and they're on a free fall. But if they come knocking on the door, they're still Liverpool FC. We're Tottenham, and it is, it's only a couple of places down, but we're supporters. We love our club, and we want to look at it and go, no, we are the best. We've got this history. We do have a trophy cabinet, but you're not got that stature of Liverpool. And if Liverpool go, we want you, the players are going to go, most likely. I'm not saying everyone, but so for us as confidence and for us to move forward and say, right, give Frank money. I think Frank could spend the money well. I'm not. To use one of Sean's quotes, I'm not Frank out, I'm Franked out, but I was fully Frank in. So I have come down in my expectations, which I don't like myself, because I don't want to be that negative, but I can see both sides of the coin, and I can see where he needs to improve and what's going wrong. I can't phone him up and tell him personally what I think, and he probably won't give a shit what I think. But do you know what I mean? It's when you're looking at the players, just like if you come down and you say, right, this same team played on Sunday against our better players played against Arsenal, and then our lesser players played against a better team in PSG or equally as good. It's two different teams. You wouldn't say, apart from the kits, you wouldn't say it was the same team. So I'm struggling to see where it comes from. If he doesn't play positive for me today and come out early and start on the front foot and really take it to him, I fear for us, as in momentum's gone, the position is gone. We're going to be start clutching at straws of things to hang on to. And I say, I don't want that big noise for him and that big horrible thing. But if we lose these 3 games, you know, and he finishes off Brentford beating us, I think things going to turn really nasty for him. And I don't think him as a bloke personally deserves it, because I think he's a nice guy and I think he's trying his best, but I think he's just worried so much that he is putting the handbrake on. He's worried about losing when he needs to worry about climbing forward. It's the only way.
Can I ask you a question, guys? Can I ask you a question? Sorry, go ahead.
Just quickly, Dermo. One thing I think Dermot, Martin has said there, I think is absolutely poignant. You know, forget about what it means for Frank in terms of the fans' eyes, you know, make or break for him. It's make or break for this player and this manager in terms of what we're going to achieve this season and momentum. I think you're absolutely spot on with that. And that's the key at the end of the day. You know, if we lose this all of a sudden, everyone's looking at an uphill battle. Some of our better players might have eyes on moving out of this football club then as well, which is a huge concern. Whereas if we win, we're back up there in Europe. All of a sudden, there's belief back around the camp, confidence.
This is the tipping point.
This is the tipping point. This next 7 days today, Newcastle midweek, and then Brentford on the weekend. You're absolutely spot on. It is the tipping point, you know, on what we're going to achieve coming out of this season. I think you're absolutely spot on. Sorry, Darmo, go on.
I was going to say, look, it's not a question more, but wasn't Poch like this during his first season at the club, where it wasn't great, and it wasn't an Aston Villa game where Harry Kane scored a hat-trick that turned it around for him, and then we can say the rest is history. So, could tonight be the night for Thomas?
I have a talking point around that, though, Dermo, because I think everyone just looks at Pochettino without actually realizing what he'd done. He changed the culture, he changed the environment, he fucked off Adebayor and players like that, bought through Bentaleb, Masons, players like that. He done something drastic. Arteta done similar at Arsenal. Ferguson done similar at Man United. And if you know, that's a question I do have: is Thomas Frank going to do that? But there are a couple more talking points I want to talk to quickly, just around the defense, and then we'll get on to that talking point, because I do think it's sort of approaching that, especially when you look at the way the kids perform from against PSG compared to the senior players, against Arsenal. I think it certainly is approaching that point. Do you know what? We'll just go on to it. We'll just go on to it now. Look, early in Mauricio Pochettino's Tottenham tenure, there was a pivotal moment when he realized what needed to change for him to succeed. Some of the senior players didn't buy into his methods, but a group of younger players did, and their response effectively saved them. Now, that moment sparked the cultural shift and the revolution that followed underneath Pochettino. And looking at Wednesday night's performance, it was again the younger members of the squad who stepped up, showing more energy, fight, hunger. So do you think Frank is now approaching a similar turning point at Tottenham, where he may need to make a bold decision and put more trust in some of the younger players to rebuild and reshape the culture and environment at the club? And look, you know, whoever wants to go first on that can. Darmo, you must have my running sheet here, do you?
No, I apologize, Dave. I didn't mean to, come up. But look, I think we are. I think Wednesday, I know everyone keeps looking at, if you look at the stats and look at the scoreline, you're going to be negative. Jesus, we lost. But you've got to look at the positive that come out of it. And you're right. Bergville, Gray. I've been a big advocate for Lucas Bergville. I think Philip Brady said before we bought him, he said he's going to be brilliant for us. And Philip's seen a lot of players during his time following Tottenham. So, I said, okay, keep an eye on this lad. And he has. Them two played brilliantly Wednesday. And I think Thomas Frank should take that and look at tonight. If we win tonight, then I think that's the tipping point. Martin is right. It's going to go in the right way, because then he can take that out and go, right, I can move forward with this now. You want to do it, you do it my way. If you don't want to do it, there's the door. You walk out of it. And I think he is a nice guy, but he's got to have a bit of, I think, a little Fergie in him. If I can use that as an example. Look what Alex Ferguson did at United. He took no notice. Every manager that wins, Arteta did it at Arsenal. Take no notice. He's got to have that little killer instinct in him. And if he can do that, get them players out, get the right players in, I think he can go places. But he's got to be prepared to go through the heartache of doing it. And we as Tottenham fans have to be prepared to go through that with him.
But I think fans would give him the patience if he tried something drastic like that.
Yeah. And we did it with Poch, and we stuck by Poch. And look what we got out of Poch. But Poch is Pochettino's time at Tottenham It's the blueprint, how to make this club successful. You need to follow that blueprint. And I think if we do that and put his own twist in that, I'm not asking him to become Pochettino. I'm asking him to follow that blueprint and add his own bit to it. I think we can go far. But he's got to do it. He's got prepared to put the work in and start the kids. We've got great kids at this club. We've got Scarlett. We've got Lancashire out on loan. We've got Luke. We've got Mikey Moore at Rangers. Bring them back. Start using them. Bergville, great. Start using the kids. Start using them. We've got great kids. Why not just use them? It's so frustrating. It really is.
Ooh, I'm going to have to disagree with you on this one, Dermot, because one of the things that people forget about Mauricio Pochettino was, when he was at Espanyol, there was a definitive line in the sand. There was a specific way and specific requirements you had to play in order to get into that starting 11, and that principle became even more refined when he went to Southampton. Yeah. And by the way, Southampton didn't finish 8th place because of the talent they had. They finished 8th place because they ran their absolute balls off for Mauricio Pochettino. And then by the time he got to Tottenham Hotspur, it was even more clear, and there was a definitive line. The only difference was the reason why he had to go with youth is because he didn't actually have a transfer budget worth a damn where he could go out there and actually bring in players. So he turned to the academy because at the very least he knew that he was going to be able to get those players to actually play the way that he wants to play. And as Dave alluded to, he got rid of guys that otherwise probably wouldn't. The difference between him and Thomas Frank is the fact that if that was the case, and if Thomas Frank was committed, he wouldn't have sent out Mikey Moore on loan to Rangers. He wouldn't have sent out Luka Vuskovic to the Bundesliga. He would have actually started the season with those players. And we would have seen more than just Wilson Odobert playing a left wing because he has no other options at that position, right? You would have seen Lucas Bergvall and Archie Gray with the fine roles in the midfield, surrounded by a guy like João Palhinha. And you probably would have seen Matisse Tell get far more time than Richie up top. Same thing with Dane Scarlett. If there was a clear, definitive path for some of these guys, we would have seen it instead of seeing some of ththose players that me personally should have been a part of this first team go out on loan. Like, for the life of me, I couldn't understand why Mikey Moore didn't have a definitive role this year. Same thing with Luka Vuskovic, who clearly was one of the best center backs this summer. And then all of a sudden he has the team that he wants, that he feels that he could compete with. Understanding there's players that he knows for a fact he can't trust. But that being said, it's like, what is one of his strong suits is the fact that he's a pretty good man manager. And I think that is the difference. See, the thing about this is, number one, I'm going to ask you guys, who in this first team is actually willing to run through a brick wall for Thomas Frank? Who is absolutely running their absolute balls for him, game in and game out, right? Because if that was the case, we would actually see a high press, counter pressing type of team willing to actually put in that extra shift to try to get that ball back and then try to get forward. They're just doing what he's asking them to do, and no more, no less, right? So from that saying, there are no parallels between Poch and Thomas Frank, none whatsoever. Because I think he's content with the players that he has until he can get to January. It almost feels like he's treading water at this point.
I agree. Also, when you look at the style of play, Pochettino didn't have to change his style of play from a pragmatic approach to a more on the front foot approach. When he got
this is how we play
at the Spurs, he already brought in, this is how I play. This is what worked for Southampton. This is what we're going to do here. Thomas Frank does have to change up, and that's where I worry. Can he do that? Because I've seen countless examples where managers make a step up from there and can't handle it. But the one that did was Pochettino, because he was already playing that way and brought it to Tottenham. But where I do agree with Dermot is I do think it would be wise for Thomas Frank to look at a Vuskovic, look at a Donnelly, look at a Moore, bring them back in and have them around for the second half of the season. Because what they will do is they will train their absolute nuts off to get their opportunity. That then brings up the intensity level in training a little bit. Then, you should start seeing that reflected in matches. And if it doesn't, then you double down, you give them their opportunity, and hopefully they carry you. Now, I know it's wishful thinking, and I know a lot of managers tend not to lean that way when their head is on the block. But those who did have reaped the benefits of it. Yep. Sir Alex Ferguson, Pochettino, Mikel Arteta at Arsenal. Aubameyang wasn't turning up training stuff, no problem. Let's stick with Nketiah. Even though he knew he wasn't the answer, it was more about setting the culture, the environment, so that then when they did make the big signings, the younger kids had already set that environment of this is the standard here, this is what we do at this club, because they already have the love for the club, and all of a sudden then players are coming into that standard. And I think Frank, to a certain degree, would be wise. I think Postecoglou hesitated to really show his belief in a Mikey Moore, and players like that. I think it backfired on him. Same with Conte, same with Jose Mourinho. And I'd argue if Frank wants to change that culture, because when he's coming out after the Arsenal game saying, well, hang on, the game plan was to be more aggressive, this, that, and the other. The first thing I'm left with then who's not doing their job? Who's not performing on the pitch for you? And then when I see the way we come out against PSG, we bring in the younger members, the Sars, the Greys, the Bergvalls, and you just see how much alone energy, a bit of fucking pride in what you're doing can really make us look so much more better. Even though we lost on the night, it made us look so much more better. And I think if you want to start developing a culture around that, I think that's where Frank would be wise to start looking, at one or two of these guys and saying, and use them as an example. Because at the end of the day, right, he's already tried to set an example with leaving Yves Bissouma out completely. But players still aren't understanding it. They still think we can get this guy out. He needs to change the culture to a certain degree. And that's where I'd argue it would really help himself kick on. But Martin, we'll get your thoughts on the whole conversation around that, and then I want to take this. I think Super Spurs TV is actually sort of responding to something that you brought up earlier, so we can respond to this after.
Yeah, my thinking, I hear what Steve and you and that are saying. I just looking at it through my lens, I don't think he's feeling the youth, and we can see by the signs bought in. We all knew we needed experienced guys in because we've bought the youth. The youth are there. So, we don't need to buy anymore. We did need to buy some experience. But Sarr was playing well, also at the team. He's brought Simons in, and I think he has thrown Xavi under the bus. At first, I was blaming Xavi a bit, but I think Frank hasn't helped him. And, the elder statesmen, let's say, the more experienced guys, because some of them are still young, but they are more experienced. I don't think they're stepping up and running through walls like they're not prepared to do it. And we haven't seen that in a couple of years. It's not just a Frank thing. Yeah. These players are on, they're not used to it. Since they've been at Tottenham, lots of Van de Ven and things. They have great, I love Mickey. But, and they're not, I
would argue he's probably one of the only players you could argue is maybe running through.
That's what I'm saying. He shows he's trying, but I don't think they can all walk off their pitch and look in the mirror and go, I'll give 100% today, I left everything out there, because I don't think they do. Now, he's put the kids in on Wednesday, and maybe that's just in saving the more experienced players for today. And, maybe his plan was to say, look, we're going to lose. Let's go out, put the kids out, let's see what they can do. And if that was his thing, it's backfired on him because they've done quite well. Yeah. Now, everyone around the space is all saying, well, look what happens if you put them in. So there's a lot for him to go for. And, as I say, if he put them in just to go, well, we ain't going to lose. At Arsenal, he put the experienced players in, shut up shop and trying to do this. It didn't work. So he's gone on Wednesday, right, I've got nothing to lose. Everyone's expecting us to lose. There's no pressure on me. I'll put the youngsters in, let them have a go. And they turned out doing all right. Now he's got a dilemma this week. If he goes back to the double pivot, Bentancur and that, and then Xavi's sitting in there all lonely on the middle, and he's got no runners past him because Paulinho and Bentancur have been told, don't go past the halfway line. Koulibaly has got two over him on there. Odegaard's over there, and it's just, you revert to something, so then he isn't learning. And if he isn't learning, and all these little experiments, the experiments with the experience against Arsenal defence didn't work. If his Wednesday was to play the kids on because it didn't matter, it failed against him because in some senses it did work. Now, I'm a true believer and old school in the 4-4-2. I don't get why everyone's changed it. It works. The most successful managers in English history have all come from that 4-4-2. It makes sense to me. We grew up playing it as kids. I get it. All these tinkering Christmas trees and all the other stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's like, everyone wanted to be Pep. And then now Arteta's leading the way and he's doing the defensive stuff and he's doing the set pieces. Everyone wants to be Arteta now. And now the whole Premier League are doing that.
You know what's funny about that, though, Martin? They didn't score one goal from set piece. They broke us down from open play. And that's something I've been trying to say we need to bring. You can't just rely on set pieces and throws.
No,
it's a good tool
it's
to
a
have.
factor and it's an element. But you don't go into war with you have different strategies, and it's part of it. But was it you who was saying the other day, we've only 30% of our goals have come from there, so it's not our strong point. It's just backing up our other stuff. I think own goals were more than what we were getting on our set pieces, so it's not the be all and end all. But I like the 4-4-2, 4 at the back. The wingers can go up the halfway line. You've got your 2 in the middle. You've got your Roy Keane and your Paul Scholes. The wingers doing their job, and you've got 2 centre forwards. Remember the days we had Defoe, Roy Keane, Berbatov. Oh, mate, we're struggling to get 1. Yet we had the riches of 4. 4. Jermaine Defoe, 30 a season. Robbie Keane running over, doing somersaults in the corner. We don't have that. We're relying on Richie. Is this where we've come to? And I'm not digging Richie out. I'm just talking in sheer numbers and sheer quality of what we've grown up with. And now, because everyone's playing with 1 striker, we had Harry Kane for all them years. And what was the conversation? Well, we can't get another striker in because no one's going to come back second fiddle to Harry Kane. That used to wind me up so much.
Same here.
Man United had Dwight York, Andy Cole, Teddy Sheringham, Oli Gunnar, Lou Van Nistelrooy. Like, they all played a part. Chelsea had 4 people in every position. They all done it. But at Tottenham, oh no, we can only have 1 for every position because we're going to knock someone out and make them unhappy. Then Kane goes out for 3 months with a broken ankle. We bring him back for a final and go, oh, Kane was shit. He didn't really don't turn up to big games. It was just heavily reliant on 1 striker, and you can't have that this day and age. It's I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm too old.
What's funny, Martin, is like the last couple of months, I've been saying if there's any team in the Premier League that can actually play a 4-4-2 based on the personnel, it's Tottenham Hotspur. Just from the lack of inconsistency when we're playing 4-3-3, it actually suits us a lot better. And imagine having a 2-striker combination with Kolomwani and Kudus up top, and that you can actually play direct and actually play forward football in a 4-4-2. It actually makes quite a bit of sense for this club.
But your 6 has a job. The 8 can go forward a little bit, play it onto your proper 10, and your proper 10 can give it to your proper number 9. And then you've got your 2 wings. It just, for me, it just works. It just makes so much sense. All this interlocking players and players, left-footed, right-footed. Ryan Giggs would never play on the right-hand side. You wanted him running down that left, and you wanted Beckham running down that right, pinging them across. You didn't want David Beckham on the left, and you want Ryan Giggs on the right. What sense does it make? None. It's all just fashionable.
You go back to even to under Berkenshaw. You had Galvin one side, you had whoever on the other. You had Graham Roberts in the midfield with Ricky. You had Garth Crook, Steve Archibald up front. You had Paul Miller and Stevie Perriman in the back 4. Whoever you had, Ray Clements, whoever in goal. And and that was the team. It was everyone was a leader. Everyone did their job. If you weren't doing your job, you got a bollocking for not doing your job.
I think because everyone done it, Dermot, do you think that everyone just knew their job? Like Gary Neville knew to run and when to go past Beckham. Yeah. And they knew their role and they would just drilled it from an early age. Now all this, you over there, we swap over there, we do that. It's confusing. And with Frank, I feel like I'm on a rant, but with Frank, he's not stuck to a system. So 1 week, we're doing this. Next week, your job is totally different. And as fans, we think a defender's a defender. But you put a right-footed centre-back in a left centre-back, it's a complete different world for them. And it confuses them. You need consistency. And with that, players can learn their job. Give them 6 games. Stick to one system. 6 games, as much of the same players as you can. Freshen up a little bit, but try and play a system. All this 3-5-2, 5-3-2, 4-4-1-2s. The players that don't know where they're coming and going, and they've all got different roles. And how can you learn that on a day or two on a pitch?
I think we're seeing that. I think
So,
we're
yeah.
seeing that reflected on the pitch, though. You know, we're so disjointed in anything we're doing. Defensively, you know, we're all over the shop now. You know, going forward, we're all over the shop. And midfield is all over the place. You know, to your point, you know, all this chopping and changing. I think it's a lot of it's down to the rotation, unnecessary rotation at times. You're not giving anyone any chance to understand their role, understand what they're being asked to do in that role, understand each other's game,
No
understand relationships with
relationship.
players. Exactly. You know, patterns of play. All this stuff comes with understanding, people playing together consistency, and that's why I was arguing so earlier on in the season about all this rotation. I just thought it was unnecessary to a point. I think start of the season you got to try and draw your best 11 out there for as many as you can to try and build up ahead of steam, and then once the fixtures come in thick and fast like we're approaching now, then you start tinkering and rotating and stuff. I just think earlier on in the season it was too much, and I think we're seeing that reflected on the pitch now to this day. Just I do want to respect Blaine's super chat here, though. So I think this was off the back of what Martin was saying earlier on as well. And then we'll let Dermo and Stevie back in on what we're talking about. It's just the problem you've got these days is every day there's comments or shows or something around the club. You've had, you used to have a Monday laugh over the result and a chat down the pub. Now it's about being right and not a discussion, sadly. Well, hopefully that's not the case over here, Blaine. Hopefully and I know you're not talking about YouTube specific. You're talking about all socials, media, etc., etc. You're absolutely spot on. But I just like to think my opinion is based on how I think we can get Tottenham back to its very best, rather than, you know, being right or wrong. Because if I am wrong on some things, like I was maybe Jed Spence coming in over Porro for the North London Derby, I have no problem holding my hands up and going, do you know what? I got that wrong for this reason. But Martin, take it away, my man.
I agree. I'll say I don't have a channel. I'll sit back and I'll watch a lot of them. I'm members on a few of them, and that's not just Tottenham specific. This is like if you sit and watch. Like I watch a lot of other channels because you like to see where they're going, mate. They're all at it, and it's like Frankie's shit. At one point, I'm going to be proven right. Like there was Andy Goldstein with Darren Bent the other night talking about Arnie Slot. And he's going, I told all the Liverpool fans last season, you wait till next season. And now he's being proven right. He can't wait to get it out. It's everyone. I just feel it's like I've said what I've said. You know, I don't rate Richie. He scores a worldie. Yeah, but, you know, anyone could score that. It's just you have to be right and you can't be realistic no more. You have to be on one side of the fence. You know, no one likes someone sitting on the fence, but I think in the middle, there's a reality. You can take a bit of both, but people are so strong on, I'm right. I've got to be right. And I'm going to keep sticking to it. And one day I'm going to be right. And I'm going to go, told you so. And that's all they're waiting for. A told you so moment, you know? And the whole aspect of, you know, what these things are created for, to fans to have a chat and hear their opinions. Like here, we're all sitting there having our opinions and we're all seeing things differently. We're all understanding each other, but we're all not thinking the same. We all come from a different angle. That's the great thing about this. The point where it's just, no, you're wrong, and it's just, you've got to be right. It's just crazy to me. It's crazy.
I think that also reflects the society we live in, right? It's so you got to be one camp or the other. There's no real middle ground anymore, and I think you're seeing the same sort of being reflected in sports all across. You know, it's not only football this happens in, by the way. I watch, you know, other sports, and it's the exact same thing. And I also think the amount of sledging that goes on nowadays. The minute you say something, everyone holds you to it. So then, as soon as someone's proven right, you know, in the end, they're coming back and hitting back and stuff. And whatever happened to
politics, you're either far right or far left. You can't be left or right no more. You've got to be far right, far left. You can't be, you know, you thought it used to be the left and the right. Now it's far right. Everything's just polarized away to just separate people. Do you know what I mean? And it's all walks of life.
Yeah, absolutely. They don't want people finding common ground anymore. They want everyone being so divisive and stuff like that. But, you know, over here, I think we'll always try and strike common ground. Don't get me wrong. If I think someone is speaking bollocks, I'll say it to them, but I'll always give them my reasons why and stuff like that. But, you know, I agree. I think, you know, where's the middle ground gone, Blaine? That's what I would say. Big up, Blaine, though. Really appreciate the support, my man. Very, very kind of you. You know, but think once the lineup's out, lineup will be out in about 10 minutes time. So I mean, Dermot, Stevie, do you have anything else on the back of what Martin had to say there? His long, passionate rant, which I absolutely enjoyed. By the way.
I feel so much better. Thank you very much.
Do you know
Look,
what? I think most people listening to you in the chat feel much better after hearing that as well. They were saying you're absolutely spot on. But Dermot, Stevie, anything else you want to come in off the back of what
Sure.
Martin was saying, more so about Frank and Tottenham and stuff, and not about the way society is today.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought you wanted a comment here on Super Spurs TV, and it's quite obvious that the internet completely ruined ruined society, because there's a lot of people that probably shouldn't have access to express their opinions. Where now all of a sudden they have multiple platforms where they can actually just spew their garbage, right? So it's not about right or wrong. For me, it's about this club winning trophies, and that's really the only thing that matters to me. If you agree, you agree. If you don't, you don't. Whatever, cool. My life continues to go on. So from that standpoint, but Derma?
Yeah, look, on Martin's point, I agree. I think there's too much overthinking when it comes to tactics and formations and how we play. Look, I know Dave says to me when I talk about the old days, said Derma's going back to World War I again. Well, yes, I am the Uncle Albert of this channel during the good old days at Tottenham, when I was a wee boy with a pipe and a pint of Bovril. Standing in the East Stand, and yes, I used to stand in the East Stand as a wee kid with my dad. I think football was simpler. Yes, football's evolved, and I think the sport's evolved in the wrong way, in my opinion. Players just want to play football. You need to make it simple. Bill Nick always said this, or Arthur Rowe always said this. People couldn't understand push and run. Push and run is simple. You get a ball, you hit the ball against the wall, and you move. That's push and run. It's simple. They weren't sitting with tactics boards, or they weren't having daily meetings about how we're going to play. It was simple. And I think players need simple. You go out, your job is to defend. Your job is to sit in front of that back four, and you don't budge from there. Your job as a number 8 is to be the box-to-box midfielder. You get up to the attacks, but you come back and help out. You tell a striker, your job's to sit in the 6-yard box. That's your job. Your job as wingers is to get the crosses in for the striker. Then if you're a cameraman, your job is to sit there and put passes in, get things started. Football is a simple game. You need to make it simple, and we're making it too difficult, and it's been overthought.
100%.
And I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
I'm from a generation. I'm from the early 80s when football was simple. And it's gone too complicated now for me. There's too many tactics. It's this and there's that. Football is simple.
I almost feel like football is waiting for someone to just go back to simple 4-4-2. Yeah. This is your role. Do it consistently well. I almost feel like football is waiting for someone to come back in with that approach. And I think it'll start being really effective, because I understand how football has got complicated. When the likes of United were cleaning up everything, playing 4-4-2 and stuff like that, teams were trying to find other avenues, a way around sort of beating these teams, but it was all designed to win. I think where we've got lost in football now is everyone just looks at who's winning and going, I'm playing that way, and not looking at actually what they've got available to them, and how they get the best out of them and make them competitive to their own abilities. And I think that's what we've lost. And I almost think it has got a bit too complicated. I almost think it's just waiting for someone to come back in and say, everybody, football is not a difficult game. Your right winger works up and down the wing, and in possession, he crosses the ball and creates chances. Out of possession,
that being said,
like midfield is the biggest example, right? We used to play 2-3 center midfielders, but they could all get in, tackle, you knew their position, but they could also play a little bit, some more than others, but everyone was competent on the ball. Now you're either a CDM, now you're either a number 8, a cam. It's just gone absolutely madness.
Hybrid, don't forget the hybrid.
And I will just say that, like players, coaches have egos as well too. And there's a lot of coaches, and I would probably class Thomas Frank in this conversation with normal modern day coaches. They have egos just the same, right? And there is a specific philosophy that they feel is absolutely going to be able to win trophies, blah 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 blah. And what you're seeing is you're also seeing a lot of teams that players don't necessarily match the actual tactics. And so what you have is a complete jumbled mess, right? And like the one thing that I just want to see is tactics that actually match the strength of the players that we actually currently have. You're going to get far better results than the inconsistency we're seeing. We're seeing it right now at Liverpool. That was actually one of the things that I praised Arne Slot last year, because he kept everything the same from the previous regime, because he didn't want to do too much to disrupt it. And then after winning the Premier League, then he wants to implement his style of football. And now Liverpool can't stop stepping over their dicks. So it's funny. It's funny how ego works in this conversation, because again, coaches that sometimes this ego has a tendency to ruin things that are absolutely simple. And this is where I agree with you, Dave, you Dermo, and you Martin. It's like football is not this massive chess game. That you absolutely have to, move pieces around the board. It's literally simple in its simplistic form.
And this is where just quickly, I'll take it fast, Radfar. This is quickly where he says we wanted Ange to change. Now we want Frank to stick to one. And I think, this is the thing. I think what Spurs fans actually want is just a manager that comes in, looks at what he's got, and goes, "This is where we're going to play. This is what our strengths are. This is what our weaknesses are, and we're going to look to combat it." And I think that's all Spurs fans want now. I think with Ange, we had one extreme. With Frank, we're having another extreme, and that's off the back of having Conte, Nuno, and Jose, who are also of an extreme. We just want a manager that comes in like Harry Redknapp, looks at what we've got, and go, right, this is the way we're going to be. Big up, Faz. Really appreciate the support. Go on, Martin. What you're talking about?
Just reflecting on like the other night with the foot. I pretty much see 4-4-2 on the pitch. It changed a little bit sometimes in dropping into Elpa, but mainly you've seen a 4-4-2. But even the people online couldn't even call it a 4-4-2. That go, it's a 4-2-2-2. It just wasn't. Everyone has to be, master tacticians trying to make up. Who would play a 4-2? It's a fucking T-shape. You're losing half your pitch. It doesn't work.
The one that cracked me up earlier on was all this Christmas tree formations and stuff. Anyway, we're going to move on.
It used to be called the Christmas tree, David.
I know.
It was back in the day. I've seen it once. Anyway. One quick thing that I think also when it comes to football and Thomas Frank and Tottenham now, is that younger fans just want success. They're not used to waiting. They want it now. The younger fans just don't want to go through.
The younger fans are used to waiting for sure.
Yeah, but no, like we are Spurs TV. He says, "What's the point of talking about the past? What's the point of talking about years gone by?" It's important because it links you to your football club. It links us to Tottenham Hotspur, and football was simpler, but it was better then. Football's no good. Football's too complicated now. And when we do talk about the past, I think we have to respect what we did in the past.
100%.
We have to show it respect. And that's where clubs are built off. So I think some younger fans just don't respect the past because, that's the past. That doesn't matter to me. I respect.
But they grew up in the league here, aren't they? They don't.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on from
birthday today. Anyway, so happy birthday to Terry Dyson.
Yeah, big up. But look, let's move on from the past and let's talk about the current. The lineups will be out, but we'll continue this conversation while I bring them up and stuff because it usually takes everyone a few minutes to work it out the way it's come out. Here's a pattern. Spurs have now conceded 9 goals from the edge of our own box across recent matches. 2 versus PSG, 1 in the Super Cup, 1 versus Brighton, 1 versus Bodo, 2 versus Villa, 2 versus Arsenal. Last season at Brentford as well, no goalkeeper faced more long-range shots than Flecken, and no keeper made more saves from distance than Flecken. With that in mind, who is truly responsible for this reoccurring weakness? Is it Thomas Frank's tactical setup, the fact that it's happened at Brentford and it's happening here now? Is it down to, the double pivot, maybe not being proactive, but I'd argue the instruction is to not give up any space in the box and they're comfortable of giving up the way Frank sees it going forward, low risk scoring opportunity. So if he sees it one way, he probably sees it the other. Or is it just simply down to the carry-on not being good enough from long-range shots? Because to be fair to Frank, Flecken wasn't beating as much from long range as maybe Vicario is. So who's actually at fault? Because this is something that can't continue. We can't keep conceding goals from the edge of the box. And I know we're bringing it up now, but it's only going to be so long before the Sky Sports or your BT hop on it and really start sort of highlighting it.
Good on me, I'll go.
Anyone?
I think it's what I was saying earlier. I think the inconsistency of the changing of the systems and the different roles. Because if they're told, right, when that player comes in, you've got to be there. But then if you're 5 yards over and they're running across each other now, and they're people running behind, they don't know what they're doing. And what it does, they go like that and it's making holes. And they're not obviously clever players like Eze and people like that. They're going to jump all over that. And our players are just last minute trying to get back. And it always seems like something to recover. Like the PSG with the corner. They're all standing there. The ball's at their feet with 5 of them. The PSG player just kicks it in the goal. You know, as I say, for me, you know, without being a coach or having any badges, you know, I just think they just need, especially the back 4, stick with it. There's your jobs, there's your roles, and make it easier for the players to understand. Listen, defending is defending. I think the midfield and the attacking players, I think there's a bit more to be coached. But I think your defensive line needs to be, there's a job, just stick to it. And I just think that's going to be the easiest way to correct these mistakes. But going 5, going 3, going 4, it's not helping the players. The players are at fault, but obviously it comes from instruction and system, is my opinion.
Fair. Stevie, Dermo, anything else you want to add on why we keep conceding shots from the edge of the box? Do you agree with Martin?
I do. Yeah, I do. Go ahead, Dermo.
No, I agree with Martin. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, but you know, it's interesting because when you look at how teams build up against us, especially when we concede possession, look at where our back line is actually lined up versus how the other opposition actually lines up when we're actually in possession as well, too, right? We're deeper than we absolutely need to be, right? And so, you know, our back line is farther back, and then our double pivot is at the 18-yard, giving them space to actually approach that 18-yard. Versus the back line being at that line, and then our double pivot is a little bit higher up the pitch where they can put out fires before it actually gets to that moment. And so from that point, Martin's 100% right, because there's a heavy rotation, and then also there's rotation when it comes to tactics as well too. But the bottom line is like we're dropping deeper and deeper and deeper and allowing them to come forward at a rapid rate. And so if there is a mistake, we're going to get punished for it as well too, and we saw that against PSG.
It's just when I look at when I've gone back and looked at the goals, and I'd encourage everyone to do it. Go back, you get brief clips of all the games. Go back and look at it. It's a consistent problem, and it's actually scary how many of these people are getting shots off without anyone actually getting anywhere near it to close it down or show any intent. And when I saw that and I went and looked at, okay, well, what went on at Brentford is a reoccurring pattern. And I think the fact that Thomas Frank sees it as low risk, goal scoring opportunities going forward, that's why he doesn't like his players shooting from distance. I think he also sees the same way defensively. And I think the instruction is, even to the double pivot, is to sit back inside the box with your centre backs. Don't give up any spacing around there and allow them to shoot from distance. And when you also look at it, Flecken didn't get as beaten as much as Vicario. So I do think there's probably an issue arising there a little bit, because if Frank is still the manager going into next season, it's not going to be something that he's going to let slide if he relies on his goalkeeper and he demands from his goalkeeper to be better at saving from distance. So I think it is an area that maybe Vicario needs to improve in, and that can be done through maybe just being a bit more quicker in his reactions, maybe reading the game or reading it a little bit better. But at the same time, he's not the biggest of goalkeepers within that goal. There's only so much he can do if these shots are sort of hitting the corners. But I do think, if I'm one of the double pivot, instead of letting it happen, and if I'm Thomas Frank, this is what we're talking about evolving. Just instruct one of them to sit in the D. All of a sudden, a lot of these shots aren't as dangerous, so don't go through on your goal like they're doing. So I think it's a bit of a tactical problem, but I also think in games, some players could maybe just be a bit more proactive or stay aware and maybe get out and close it down, because if not, teams are going to keep doing it to us. Everyone we set up to defend against Arsenal set pieces, they scored how many goals from the edge of our box in that North London derby in around the same position? It's a trend that cannot continue. But anyway, guys, the lineup is out. Big up we've got here, Andrew. Good to see you, my man. Hopefully you're keeping well, Mr. Burnett. But look, we've got the lineup. It is Vicario in goals. Danzo comes in for the suspended Christian Romero, and he will partner Mickey van de Ven, who, of course, captains the side in Romero's absence. At fullback, you've got Destiny Udogie coming in at left back, Pedro Porro at right back, And this is where it gets little bit confusing moving forward. Is it a 2 up top? Is it a 4-2-3-1? It could easily be both. My guess is might be similar to what we've seen off the back of the PSG game.
Yeah.
And maybe he's looking for them, to sort of build off them green shoots. But so we'll go with based off that. When you look at the lineup, then you've got Gray, Bergval, and Paulini as your midfield three. And then you've got Kudus probably in and around, probably you play a bit centrally, maybe a bit further up. And then you'll have Mwani and Richarlison up front. Or if it is the 4-2-3-1, you'll probably have Paulini and Gray in the two deeper roles, Bergval in your cam, Richarlison or Mwani off the left. The other one will play up front, and Kudus off the right. So let me know in the chat what you think it is. Is it 4-2-3-1 or a continuation on from what we've done against PSG? And we'll go through the panel, get your score predictions, and we'll call it an evening. What do you think it is, Martin?
I think that's a 4-4-2.
Okay.
I don't know 4-1-3, but for me, it's just I don't know. I'm a believer in it. I say I do think it works. It makes sense, but it could be anything.
He's gone back to 4-4-2. Simple.
Simple. It was magazines called 4-4-2. It's there for a reason.
This actually kind of has this kind of has a feeling of what we saw against PSG, which is actually going to line up in a 5-3-2, and then what's going to end up happening as they attack forward, it's actually going to play out like a 4-4-2. And it feels like it's going to be Richarlison playing off the right side with Kolo Muani, but you're going to have an inverted attacker with Mohamed Kudus, and you're going to be attacking essentially with three midfielders, Bergval and Gray off the right and left right there. And so from that standpoint, it feels like this thing is going to play far more direct, just like we saw against PSG, and it's going to have the 4-4-2 feel.
I'm actually going to change my opinion, actually thinking on it. So I'm going to give you a new educated opinion here. Look, for me, actually, I'm going to go a little bit different, actually, because I do actually expect, come to think of it, Fulham to set up in a low block. And I think if they do, I'm not sure what the benefit to us is having so many players in around the middle when the creativity and how you're going to create chances is out wide, and looking to expose them that way. Because I think with PSG, I do think that midfield four and the four that he picked in terms of Sarr, Bergval, Gray, and Bentancur. There's no wingers in that. And I think it was game specific with PSG to target their midfield. And I think he said, rather than let them pass it around all game, what they're not used to and where they are weak is physically. Let's get in and around them. Whereas with Fulham and the fact that Kudus is back in here and not another centre midfielder, that's why I think it'll be a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, whatever you like, because I do think, with Kudus in, it means we will play one out wide, which means you'll have to play someone off the left. And I do think this is where the game will be one for Tottenham. And I think looking at this, we're going to look to hammer our right-hand side. Porro and Kudus, if you actually go and look at the stats, are our two most creative players this season. And I think the clear plan is Richarlison might play off the left, and he'll come crashing in once we start crossing it in from the right-hand side. So I actually think I'm going to go 4-3-3.
You've got Bergval in the sort of 10-ish role in, and Gray in the 8 and Paulini in the 6.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking, because I'm thinking if he was to replicate what he'd done against PSG, why is he playing Kudus? Why is he not playing another?
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah. Dharma, where are you at with this lineup? What's your thoughts?
I think it's the same as PSG 5-3-2. Maybe going into a 4-4-2. I think it's the same. I like it. I like the fact that he's gone with. So I'm just trying to get it up. I think he's gone the same with Bergval and Gray again. I think that's good. And look, I like it. So that's the team that gets a result tonight. And I think Xavi on the bench again. I would have liked Xavi to start, but I think it's.
No, sorry. Finish your point. No, finish your point, because
no, go on, Dave. Go on.
I want to ask Martin about Xavi, because Martin, you're a big fan of the guy. I know, you've where you live in Spain, he's a big reputation around there and stuff like that. I mean, what do you think just is going wrong with Xavi? We probably need to get you on for another panel show to discuss this, but, briefly, what do you think is actually going wrong with Xavi? Is it him, maybe acclimatizing and stuff like that? Or is it maybe Frank just doesn't know really how to use him because he's never really had to fit in a cam, if you would like, in that Brentford?
Yeah. I think it's a bit of a mixture. I think he come in and we were so lacking on that left. He got put to the left, and he can go out to left and drift in. But watching him through his youth, obviously I see him, close up when he was like 5, 6 years old. But you could see then he had an attacking mind. And then as you watch him go through the ranks at Barcelona in their team, he was more like you pick up the ball in the centre circle and then he just drives at you.
Yeah.
But then they have got a system where there's players available up front. Now, he doesn't have that with us. So he has to find a way. And I think the culture of coming to the Premier League it is tough. Players, let's say you get a second and a half in Germany, you're getting half a second now. He'd have one midfielder come running at him, he can drop a shoulder, skip round him. But here, he drops round him, there's another two sitting behind him, taking him off the ball, and he's getting off. He will get it right. I'm pretty confident in that. But
do you think he has the right people around him to keep his mind focused? Because I know when you're out of the team, sometimes your mind you can sort of get down about it, you can get angry about and stuff. Do you think he's got the right people around his camp to keep him focused and on track?
His family that are very, very close around him, and I think they're all like his mum. She was, the dad still worked for Ajax. He was a coach at Ajax when he was living here and growing up in Spain. His dad played like in the Dutch league, but he was a coach at Ajax in the younger ranks. But he didn't have him there. He had him here because he wanted to get him into Barcelona. That was his whole thing. So the mum, she has been there, and like she's at all his press conferences. Like when he was signing, his mum and his family, they're very, very close. They are. He's got a good tight unit around him personally. Yeah, he has.
I think that's crucial for him where he's at right now.
Yeah, but I think Frank hasn't helped him, and I think he's been the fall guy for a lot of things because I don't know. People expected him to come in and just not many players. Look at Wirtz and it. You're talking 125 million pounds worth of player coming from the same league, and he's struggling in the same league. So it's all right to put it on the young, Xavi, who's been around the block and played in all different countries. But this is a grounded international player, and he's come there and he's finding it hard. So give him time; he'll work it out because he has got the brain to work it out. But I think he needs help, and I think if we get a couple of people. Personally, everyone's up. If we get Kulu back, I think that double pivot we can lose that. Put him in that 8 that he can do, and then he's got someone to give it to. Even if it's just to go centre 10 yards, then he can go past or someone else. But it's all the hopes are left on him to be creative and do it. You watched him go back with his international break. He's running into the box and scoring in the box. It's the system and him learning at the same time. It's definitely a bit of both.
Fair. No, you're someone I really trust when it comes to Xavi Simons because you've sort of followed his career and stuff like that. So I think people needed to hear that. So absolutely spot on. It's good to hear that he's got a good support network around him because I think where he is right now, sort of struggling and at club level and stuff. I think it's absolutely important to have the good people around you with the right focus and stuff like that. So Dermo, my man, you said you feel like a win is incoming. Just quickly, Ribsy did say here, he says, come on, guys. He's so disappointed in all of us here. He says, come on, guys. It's not wingers. It's white 10s. It's obvious. It's a 4-2-2-2 with white 10s behind the 2 forwards. Kudus has played a 10 for a while. So there you are. That's from, no, sorry, not Ribsy. That's from Bertram Home. So big yourself up. I think it is Ribsy. Maybe it's not Ribsy, but big up.
4-2-2-2.
So disappointed in all of us. He's probably throwing things at his TV right now. He's like, not get it. Big up. But Dermot, you think we're going to win big today? Come on, what's the scoreline going to be?
I'm going for a 4-0 Spurs win. I think we're going to go up. I think we're going to go up there. We're going to prove to the world who we are and what we are. We're a Tottenham Hotspur, and we're going to go in there and we're going to batter them.
Prove it.
3 goals for Morani and 1 for Richarlison.
What drink did you get there?
I want to get Richie 4 in 4 now.
Stevie Fraser will have a meltdown. No, I'm only joking. Stevie's
I think he
actually
already is having the meltdown.
he appreciates Stevie appreciates the goals. He just doesn't believe in them long term. But Dermo, what's coming up on the channel over the next week that people need to get over and have a look out for?
Yeah, well, I think I've upset half your chat by saying young fans don't respect the club's history. So I think I've ballsed up there a little bit. But if you do like what I have to say, do come over to the channel. We've really had a good, I don't know, but the channel has exploded over the last month and a bit. We really are growing really quickly. And so, yeah, so hit the like, hit the subscribe. We've got the Irish Lads Talk Spurs podcast I do with Dave every week. We've got pre-match, we've got debate shows as well. And yeah, lots coming over. So you like what I have to say, do hit a like and subscribe, but do it here first on Dave's channel and Steve's channel as well. We may be all Spurs channels, but we should all stick together because we are support the greatest club in the world, which is Tottenham Hotspur.
Look, I'll take that 4-0 today. It really would be Christmas if we won by that margin. It'd really kick off December nicely. Stevie, same to you. What's your score prediction going to be? And you know what the people need to look out for on the channel?
All right, sounds good. I predicted a 3-1 yesterday. I'm going to stick with it. This match will go 1-1 into the break. Spurs will score in the first 15 minutes. Fulham will equalize right before the half. Spurs will jump out to a 2-1, and they'll put it away in the 70th minute. I got goals from Randall, Kolo Muani, Lucas Bergfall, and yeah, why not? Let's go with Richarlison to keep his goal streak intact. And from that standpoint, I think we will deliver the goods today against a Fulham team that's kind of struggling on the road. But what's coming up on the channel? Obviously, in about an hour, we have the Hotspur watch long, and then tonight we also have an MLS doubleheader as it is the conference finals here in the United States. So this day is absolutely going to be jam packed, and I'm actually trying to pull off something that I haven't actually done yet, so it should be fun. And then, yeah, we go into next week. So, yeah, it's going to be fun. But 3-1 Spurs.
Yeah, do you know what? I forgot they were on today, actually, the conference playoffs. So I might that'll be my TV for the night, actually. So I'll sit down and watch some of them tonight. And guys, the links are for Dermot and Stevie's channel in the chat here. So make sure you just click on it, get over and smash the subscribe. DB says, can you be more specific, Steve? He's joking.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
It does seem like, trust Richarlison to start scoring the minute the transfer window is coming up. Trust that start banging in goals. And last but not least, Martin, I think you've been a wonderful addition today. I've really enjoyed listening to you. I think I speak for many out there. What's your score prediction for today, buddy?
Just before I give me score, I'm thinking of starting up with Channel Martin's Passionate Rants. So if anyone wants to come and join, you're welcome.
Is it all right? You should. I think you should. I think you're a good listen. I think you're a good listen.
I'd watch that.
My missus would be happy about it because then she wouldn't have to listen to it. So, yeah. Predictions. I'm a 3-1. I can see us. I think we're going to let one in because when you're just touching on a point with like Bakari earlier, he always seems to be just a little bit. He's a nearly man, isn't he? He does some great things, but a lot of it's nearly. And yeah, I think we'll let one in. Just going on the shoddy defending and the Vicario situation, but I think we will score tonight. And I want to see a good attacking performance, energy lifted, and spirits raised before Christmas because I love Christmas trees apparently.
Well, I missed the Christmas tree formation. It was a great formation back in the day.
Oh, well, absolutely. And look, if you do start up your own channel, Martin, I'd be more than happy to sort of, promote it for you and stuff like that. And then look, I'm gonna try and get you on a lot more. A lot of people really enjoyed what you had to say this evening. So I appreciate you giving up your time because I know you live out in Spain. So actually you've got a lot better things to be doing than actually sitting here talking.
It's 8 o'clock at night for me. I've missed my dinner and everything, Dave. I'm regular 6:30 man for my dinner. I've missed my dinner.
Yeah, you're not getting ready for your big night out, the clubs and all of you opening now and stuff like that for the evening, go dancing and stuff. Is that not why you moved out there, no?
No, me dancing shoes have been hung up for a while, guys. They're in the cupboard gathering dust.
I doubt that. I'd say they're polished and shine, ready to go. You're just waiting for a good invite.
It's just flip flops in the boat now. Just flip flops in the boat. I don't do the dancing shoes.
Well, look, a lot would say that's fucking living, you know, because you're absolutely spot on. But guys, that's it from us here this evening. We're going to call it a night. We'll be back here in half an hour's time for the watch along. We'll be myself and Nick after this the weekend. Jack will be back Monday. Massive thank you to Dermot, Stevie, to Martin, to all you guys at home for tuning in and joining in with us on the discussion, and also to Blaine Devlin and Faz Radfar as well for the support, extra support throughout the show. Guys, go and get the drinks, go and have your dinner. See you back here in half an hour. And just quickly, lastly but not least, someone says here they're in the hospital watching the game today. Sorry to hear that, my man. Hopefully, nothing too seriously. Hopefully you get well. And hopefully we can get the win for you tonight. But that's passion right there. No matter what's wrong with him, still in the hospital, headphones out, phone out. That's what my father was like as well, to be fair. So big yourself up and see you all soon. As always, come on, you Spurs. Let's go.
Come on, you Spurs.
Kulusevski is legend.